Did Suicide Squad kill the Justice League Outwoke Spider-Man 2? We put it up against Gotham Knights last time, and I think Spider-Man 2 outwokes Gotham Knights by a landslide. But Suicide Squad may be more of a neck-and-neck scenario. Let's get into it again. Now, Suicide Squad has already been roasted in various ways, whether it be its story and the gameplay that it handles worse than Spider-Man 2, but I think Spider-Man 2 still has more progressive crap that shouldn't be there. Let's go through Suicide Squad's list as we cross-reference it. Squad has a few pride symbols, but nothing as in your face and all over the place as this entire pride wall within Spider-Man 2. Harley Quinn has been retconned into being a lesbian or bisexual. Either or. Now, I know that sounds questionable on paper as she's now known as that in current comic runs and her show. Nothing against those forms of media existing on their own, but the Arkham adaptation of Harley Quinn hasn't shown any bisexual attraction between Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy within that continuity, which therefore makes it a retcon they pulled just to keep it in line with other current adaptations, even though this isn't Arkham Harley Quinn or the animated series Harley Quinn that Arkham Harley Quinn was inspired from. Insomniac has their version of this too, which is sort of an equal equivalent as they made Black Cat bisexual as well with little justification, such as a non-canon comic that people use as a Googled example of her being bisexual since the 90s, even though this is shit people just look up without actually reading or looking into and researching themselves. And I don't know, I guess there's some bad Kevin Smith book. I'm too tired of the Spider-Man crap to repeat all the details. Go check out my comic book accuracy video if you want the full in-depth detail. As said before, it felt like her character arc was just a huge fat virtue signaling, where they want to show themselves off as being progressive. There's apparently pseudo evidence of Insomniac not even going off of the comics when they made Black Cat bi, as shown by this comment here.
Actually, they didn't make Black Cat bisexual because of any comic. In an actual interview, they stated her way seducing Peter and then pulling a runaway is something they thought a bisexual woman would do. Use a man and then get with a woman. Despite all their progressive BS, they actually were offensive to bisexual women with that choice. Another thing they changed was they removed Venom's weakened to extreme heat. Their excuse for that was him having like 5 weakness, and they decided sound was enough, even though intense sound and heat were his only 2 weaknesses. This alone proves just how little these people making a Spider-Man game actual know about his franchise.
Now we have the Suicide Squad example that admittedly isn't within Spider-Man 2, where they pulled some ridiculous race swap on Deadshot in the worst way possible. I don't even need to waste too much time repeating the details everyone else ranted about, such as the last version we saw in Arkham City and Arkham Origins being fake, or a whole slew of other BS when they could have just made his complexion slightly more tan, similar to how he looked in the Assault on Arkham animated movie. But no. I usually don't like to fall under the far-right crowd of calling black characters in media a woke thing, such as the Rings of Power show that actually didn't have any progressive BS if you actually watch the show. But Suicide Squad's trashing of continuity with Deadshot is too bad to not call it such. Spider-Man 2 doesn't really have an equivalent to this at all, I guess, other than stuff that may be racially motivated, with Miles being propped up over Peter, I guess, as Peter loses every 1v1 fight against the main character when without the black suit or help from Miles. Even Miles at least gets to beat Mr. Negative on his own, as opposed to Peter, who has to plead with Scream to not die. I really hope I don't get another dumb YouTuber who will try to think of some excuse for Peter's girlfriend reacting faster than a superhero who dodges bullets and lightning. Oh, he's so tired that his reaction time got divided by 100 to the point where MJ could react faster. Join the circus if you believe shit like that is reasonable. Honestly, now that I think about it, even Suicide Squad may have treated its main cast better in terms of wins than Insomniac did for Peter, although it's at the detriment of other Justice League members, which may still make it just as bad or even worse. I'm not even going to burn time milking the topic of how bad Arkham Batman was treated. You've seen the 20 plus videos on it. Now, Spider-Man 2 has a huge list of BS that Suicide Squad doesn't have equivalents to, such as Latinx pronouns that most Hispanics statistically don't fuck with. Jameson being treated like a political strawman for right-leaning officials, even when it comes to heavy-hitter quotes that are somewhat true, like,
"We're suffering through a litany of problems right now. Inflation through the roof, feckless government officials, and a country on the brink of a collapse not seen since the fall of the Roman Empire."
Of course, there's a gay side mission that everyone has already mentioned, a mission where you're forced to watch some gay kid ask out another gay kid instead of beating up bad guys and retrieving balloons. A mission you're forced to do, by the way, if you want the Puerto Rico mileskin or 100% map completion and a platinum trophy. Under that context, it doesn't really count as optional, as opposed to games like Cyberpunk, Mass Effect, where that is optional, on top of those games having the decency to give themselves an M rating instead of jamming themselves into a kid's game. These things aren't really in Suicide Squad. The last thing I had to compare in terms of things that are in both games are the women, I guess, in terms of appearances. We have PS5 Mary Jane looking like this at the age of 25, the typical trope of making women in gaming so ugly that they pale in comparison to how actresses and the average woman looks like. Don't let idiots try to normalize this shit when all of her dates look better than this, but yeah, I've made enough jokes about her, such as calling her Rambo Lois Jane, along with her missions that nobody wanted to return. But the point is, no woman in Suicide Squad looks that impractically bad. Sure, one could point out that Harley Quinn was downgraded from her past Arkham games, but the faces in Suicide Squad still look like women that could probably exist in real life. Like, look at the photo of Wonder Woman and her actress, and then look at MJ versus her actress. MJ looks more like someone they didn't hire, but anyway. Suicide Squad doesn't have much more to talk about in terms of nonsense it has that Spider-Man 2 doesn't. I don't even know what to call that weird child's Poison Ivy decision. Maybe it has James Gunn's fingerprints all over it. I guess there's Joker being weird and zesty and non-villainous because he's
masking insecurities with traditional Joker behavior, but deep down he's not sure who he is yet.
And confusing or blunt lines like,
"I mask my insecurities with drink and bad behavior." Oh.
So yeah, I guess this allows me to say that this debate can go either way, unlike Gotham Knights vs. Spider-Man 2, that I find was more of a landslide than Gotham Knights. Although some leaked non-binary ugly Mrs. Freeze being a thing that may or may not be released is honestly something that may tip the scales, as she or they them may actually look worse than PS5 MJ, and definitely looks worse than her comic appearance I quickly googled. Overall, Spider-Man 2 may be a more serviceable product with its admittedly solid enough gameplay that isn't just some shooter, and a story that isn't as bluntly in-your-face bad as Suicide Squad, but I think Squad may outwoke Spider-Man 2. But this can go either way, as I've already called this a more neck-and-neck scenario. Comment what you think down below, as I've already laid out everything clearly so that you may draw your own conclusion. Credit given to Ducknut for being kind enough to offer his editing services on this. I honestly really dig the opportunity to not have to invest as much of my own time to editing me calling this BS out, as I think it sorta needed to be said still, as Suicide Squad got roasted for progressive BS being jammed into it, even though a lot of people gave Spider-Man 2 a pass despite it having just as much of that, or debatably even more of it. But anyway, check out his channel and subscribe, as he's definitely earned it with his respectable editing. But anyway, thanks for watching.